Ever notice how the people who practice Stoicism the most often have the least power? How the calmest people are the ones who get interrupted, sidelined, and quietly overridden? How acceptance somehow became a synonym for losing? Stoicism doesn't fail because it's wrong. It fails because it was never designed to give you power. You've seen this play out in real life. The person less calm than you dominates the meeting. The person less reflective shapes the outcome. The person with fewer principles walks away with the deal, while you tell yourself it doesn't matter. They aren't wiser than you. They're playing a different game. Stoicism trains you to master your inner world, and that is noble. But while you're learning to accept what you can't control, someone else is learning how to control you. This is where Stoic virtue collides with real-world power and loses. Because the external world doesn't reward acceptance. It rewards influence. It doesn't obey wisdom. It obeys strategy. 500 years ago, Machiavelli wrote what polite philosophy refused to admit, that power doesn't belong to the calmest, the most virtuous, or the most self-controlled. It belongs to those who understand how force, perception, timing, and leverage actually work. The people who run institutions, close deals, and decide outcomes today quote Marcus Aurelius in public and practice Machiavelli in private. Stoicism makes you peaceful, predictable, and safe. Machiavellian strategy makes you effective. And when real power is on the line, promotions, negotiations, status, survival, peace without strategy becomes submission. That is the conflict no one warns you about. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This isn't about being a good person versus a bad one. It's about whether you remain wise and irrelevant, or learn how power actually moves in the real world. You're not here to accept your place. You're here to understand the rules that decide it. So let's begin. Rule 1. Control perception, not just reality. The Stoic says, focus on what's real, what's within your control, what actually matters. The Machiavellian says, what people believe is real matters more than what's actually real, because people act on their perceptions, not on truth. In a negotiation, the Stoic focuses on presenting their actual value. The Machiavellian controls the perception of their value. They understand that appearing scarce is more valuable than being abundant. That seeming difficult to work with makes people want to work with you more. That controlling what people believe about you is more powerful than just being something and hoping they notice. Your competitors aren't just good at what they do. They're good at making people believe they're good at what they do. And that perception, that belief, that's what gets them chosen. While you're focusing on actual competence, they're controlling perceived competence. Guess who wins? Rule 2. Appear virtuous, act strategically. The Stoic actually tries to be virtuous. The Machiavellian appears virtuous when it serves them and acts strategically, regardless of virtue. This is Machiavelli's most misunderstood principle. He's not saying be evil. He's saying understand that appearing good is often more valuable than being good, that the person who's genuinely selfless often gets exploited. But the person who appears selfless while being strategic, they get loyalty, trust, and advantage. In your workplace, the person who's actually the most helpful often gets taken for granted. But the person who strategically helps, who makes sure their generosity is visible, who understands that kindness is a tool, not a personality trait, they get promoted because they're playing the game consciously while the genuine helper is just helping. Rule 3. Never depend on others' goodwill. The Stoic accepts that people will act according to their nature. The Machiavellian ensures people need them more than they need people. Stoicism teaches you to be unattached to outcomes, to accept that people will disappoint you, to not depend on external validation. And that's wise. But Machiavelli takes it further. He says don't just accept that people are unreliable. Structure your relationships so their self-interest aligns with treating you well. Make yourself valuable enough that they need you. That's not cynicism, that's strategy. You're not bitter about people being selfish. You just understand it, and you use it. You make sure that helping you helps them, that betraying you costs them, that their rational self-interest points toward loyalty. The Stoic accepts betrayal with equanimity. The Machiavellian structures things so betrayal is irrational. Rule 4. Make people need you. The Stoic focuses on being self-sufficient. The Machiavellian focuses on being indispensable. There's a massive difference. Self-sufficiency is beautiful. It's wise, it's freeing, and it gives you exactly zero leverage. Because if you don't need anything from anyone, and no one needs anything from you. You have no power. You're just independent, which is great for inner peace, terrible for external influence. But if people need you, if you're the one with the critical skill, the key relationship, the essential knowledge, then you have leverage, then you have power, then you can negotiate, set terms, create outcomes. The Stoic cultivates independence. The Machiavellian cultivates dependence in others. One gives you peace, one gives you power. Rule 5. Guard your reputation like a fortress. The Stoic says your character matters more than your reputation. The Machiavellian says your reputation is your character as far as the world is concerned. Marcus Aurelius wrote that you should be indifferent to fame, that what matters is your actual virtue, not what people think of you. And philosophically, that's beautiful. Practically, it's suicide, because in the real world, your reputation determines what opportunities you get, who trusts you, who invests in you, who chooses you. You can have impeccable character and a terrible reputation, and you'll get nothing. Or you can have a sterling reputation and get everything. The Machiavellian understands this. They protect their reputation viciously. They control narratives. They ensure that any story told about them serves their interests. Because reputation isn't vanity, it's currency. Rule 6. Use strategic absence. The Stoic is consistently present and available. The Machiavellian understands that scarcity creates value. When you're always available, always responding, always there, you train people to take you for granted. Your presence becomes expected. Your absence goes unnoticed. But when you're strategically scarce, when you're not always available, when people have to wait for your attention, suddenly your presence becomes valuable. This isn't game playing. This is understanding supply and demand. The Stoic shows up consistently, because that's virtuous. The Machiavellian shows up strategically, because that's effective. One builds character, one builds power, and in a world where attention is currency, scarcity is the ultimate leverage. Rule 7. Let others do the work, take the credit. The Stoic finds this reprehensible. The Machiavellian finds it essential. This is where most people's moral programming kicks in. That's not fair. That's using people. But here's what Machiavelli understood. The person who does the work rarely gets the credit anyway. The person who presents the work, who takes ownership, who positions themselves as the source, they get the credit. Always have, always will. You can be the one doing the work while someone else takes credit. Or you can be the one structuring projects so you get credit regardless of who does the work. The Stoic chooses the former because it's humble. The Machiavellian chooses the latter because it's effective. One builds character, one builds empires. And these are just the foundation rules. The principles that shift your thinking from acceptance to control, from responding to shaping, from being affected by the world to determining what affects you. But the real power, that's in rules 8 through 14, where Machiavelli shows you how to actually deploy these principles tactically, where Stoicism's passive acceptance gets replaced by active strategy. Because here's where Stoicism fails hardest. In the gap between philosophy and practice. Stoicism is beautiful in meditation. But what happens when you're in an actual negotiation? When you're competing for an actual promotion? When you're dealing with an actual adversary? Stoicism tells you to accept outcomes, to focus on your virtue, to be unattached to results, and you get crushed every single time. Because everyone else is using Machiavellian tactics while you're practicing Stoic acceptance. Rule 8. Make others come to you. Force their hand. The Stoic waits patiently for outcomes to unfold. The Machiavellian structures situations so others have to come to them on their terms. This is about positional power. The Stoic accepts whatever position they're in and tries to be virtuous within it. The Machiavellian maneuvers until they're in the position where everyone else has to come to them, where they set the terms, where they control the frame. In negotiations, the Stoic shows up wherever they're told. The Machiavellian makes the other party come to them, literally, because the person who controls the location controls the psychology. The person who makes others come to them establishes dominance before a word is spoken. While you're accepting the meeting location they chose, they've already won. Rule 9. Win through action, not argument. The Stoic tries to persuade through logic. The Machiavellian creates facts on the ground. You can spend months arguing about whether something should happen, building the case, presenting evidence, trying to convince people. Or you can just do it. Create the reality you want and let people adapt to it. The Stoic believes in the power of persuasion. The Machiavellian believes in the power of fait accompli. This is why startups ask forgiveness instead of permission. Why effective people move first and explain later. Why the powerful create realities and let everyone else debate whether they should have. Because by the time the debate is over, the reality is already established. The Stoic argues for change. The Machiavellian becomes the change and watches everyone adjust. Rule 10. Avoid the infected. The unsuccessful drag you down. The Stoic accepts all people equally. The Machiavellian is viciously selective about who they associate with. This sounds cruel, but here's the reality. Your energy is finite. Your time is finite. Your attention is finite. And some people drain all three while giving nothing back. The Stoic says treat everyone with equal compassion. The Machiavellian says treat everyone strategically based on what they bring to your life. You're not being heartless, you're being honest. Some people are going nowhere and they want company. They'll take your time, your energy, your resources, and give you nothing but commiseration. The Stoic accepts this. The Machiavellian cuts them off, because you can't build an empire while carrying dead weight. And here's what most people miss about this rule. It's not about being cruel to struggling people. It's about recognizing that failure is contagious, that attitudes spread, that if you surround yourself with people who've given up, who've accepted mediocrity, who've rationalized their lack of success, you will absorb that, you will become that, not because you're weak, because you're human. The Stoic believes they're strong enough to maintain their virtue regardless of who they're around. The Machiavellian knows that environment shapes you more than willpower ever could. They don't test themselves by staying in toxic environments. They win by choosing environments where success is inevitable. Think about it. When you spend time with people who complain about the system, who blame external factors, who've given up on their ambitions, what happens to your ambition? It starts to feel naive, unrealistic, like you're the delusional one for still trying. The Stoic resists this influence through mental discipline. The Machiavellian simply removes themselves from that influence entirely. You don't owe anyone your future. You don't owe anyone your potential. And you don't owe anyone your time just because they need it. The Stoic gives time equally to all. The Machiavellian gives time proportionally to value received. One is compassionate. One is effective. And compassion without boundaries is just self-destruction with a halo. Rule 11. Keep people dependent and grateful. The Stoic gives freely without attachment. The Machiavellian gives strategically to create obligation. When you help someone with no strings attached, that's beautiful. It's also powerless, because you've given them value and created no lasting bond. But when you help people in ways that create ongoing dependence, when your generosity makes them need you, when they're grateful and that gratitude translates to loyalty, that's strategic giving. That's investment, not charity. The Stoic helps and moves on. The Machiavellian helps in ways that ensure people keep coming back. One feels good about their virtue. One builds a network of people who owe them. Both helped. Only one gained power from it. But here's the sophistication of this rule that most people miss. You're not creating bitter dependence. You're not enslaving people. You're creating grateful dependence. You're helping people in ways that genuinely improve their lives while also creating a relationship where they benefit from maintaining connection with you. Give someone a fish, they eat once and forget you. Teach someone to fish, they might remember you but they don't need you. But give someone access to your private fishing pond. Teach them to fish and make it clear that access depends on the relationship. They're grateful, they're helped, and they're bonded to you. That's Machiavellian generosity, strategic, effective, and not remotely cruel. The Stoic thinks this is manipulation. The Machiavellian knows this is just being conscious about how relationships actually work. Because all relationships are transactional, all of them. The only question is whether you're aware of the transaction and structuring it in your favor, or whether you're pretending it's not transactional and getting used. Rule 12. Disarm with selective honesty. The Stoic is consistently truthful. The Machiavellian uses truth as a weapon. Here's what most people miss. Honesty is powerful precisely because it's unexpected. When you're known for being strategic, for keeping cards close, for not revealing everything, your moments of honesty hit differently. They disarm. They create trust. They make people lower their guard. The person who's always honest loses this weapon. Their truth is expected. It creates no special effect. But the person who's selectively honest, who chooses specific moments to be vulnerable, to reveal truth, to show their hand, that's devastating, because it creates intimacy without surrender, trust without exposure. And here's the deeper layer. When you reveal one truth, people assume you're being completely honest. They think if they're willing to admit this, they must be telling me everything. But you're not. You're revealing the truth that serves you while concealing the truths that don't. You're being honest about the thing that makes you look human while being strategic about everything else. The Stoic is consistently transparent and therefore predictable. The Machiavellian is strategically transparent and therefore powerful. Because they understand that vulnerability is currency, that revealing weakness is a tool, that showing your hand at the right moment can make people think they've seen your whole deck when really they've only seen the cards you wanted them to see. In negotiations, the Stoic lays everything out honestly because that's virtuous. The Machiavellian reveals one weakness to make the other side comfortable, then uses that comfort to get better terms. One trusts in the power of honesty. One weaponizes the appearance of honesty. Guess who gets the better deal? Rule 13. Appeal to self-interest, never mercy. The Stoic appeals to people's better nature. The Machiavellian appeals to their self-interest. When you ask people for help, for opportunity, for support, what's your pitch? The Stoic explains why they deserve it, why it's the right thing to do, why fairness demands it, and they get nothing. Because people don't act on fairness, they act on self-interest. But the Machiavellian, they show how helping them benefits the other person, how it serves their interests, how it makes them money, status, security, or power. They never appeal to mercy because mercy is unreliable. Self-interest is reliable. The Stoic asks, will you help me? The Machiavellian asks, do you want to profit from helping me? Guess who gets help? And here's the sophistication most people miss. You're not being cynical about human nature. You're being realistic about it. People are fundamentally self-interested. That's not a moral judgment. That's an observation. Even acts of charity serve self-interest. The need to feel good, to appear generous, to ease guilt. The Stoic fights against this reality. They try to appeal to people's better angels. They believe in altruism. They trust that if they just explain their need clearly enough, people will help out of goodness, and they spend their lives disappointed because they're asking people to act against their nature. The Machiavellian works with reality. They don't need people to be better than they are. They just need to show how helping serves their interests. When you frame your request in terms of what the other person gains, suddenly helping you becomes not charity but smart business. Not kindness but self-interest. And self-interest is the most reliable motivator that exists. In your career, don't tell your boss why you deserve a promotion. Tell them how promoting you solves their problems. Don't explain why it's fair. Explain how it benefits them. Don't appeal to their sense of justice. Appeal to their desire for results. The Stoic explains their value and hopes for recognition. The Machiavellian makes their value impossible to ignore by tying it to the boss's success. One hopes for fairness. One engineers necessity. Rule 14. Pose as friend, work as spy. The Stoic is authentically friendly. The Machiavellian is strategically friendly. This is about information advantage. Every relationship is an opportunity to learn what people want, what they fear, what they're planning, what they're hiding. The Stoic engages with people authentically and learns what people choose to share. The Machiavellian engages strategically and learns everything. You're not being fake, you're being conscious. Every conversation is intelligence gathering. Every relationship is a source of information. The person who's genuinely friendly learns what friends share. The person who's strategically friendly learns what people reveal when they trust you. One has friendships. One has intelligence networks. But let me be clear about what this doesn't mean. It doesn't mean you're pretending to like people you hate. It doesn't mean you're betraying confidences or being duplicitous. It means you're aware that information is power, that knowledge is leverage, that understanding what people really want, really think, really plan, that gives you advantage. The Stoic listens to be kind. The Machiavellian listens to understand. The Stoic asks questions out of curiosity. The Machiavellian asks questions to map the landscape. The Stoic shares equally. The Machiavellian shares proportionally to what they learn. One has honest conversations. One has strategic ones. Both are talking to people. Only one is gaining power from it. Think about what happens in your industry, your company, your social circle. The people who know everything, who always seem one step ahead, who understand the landscape before everyone else. They're not psychic. They're just better at gathering intelligence. They ask better questions. They listen more carefully. They piece together information from multiple sources. They work as spies while posing as friends. And here's what makes this so effective. People want to talk. They want to share. They want to feel heard. So when you're good at listening, when you ask the right questions, when you create space for people to reveal themselves, they do, willingly, gratefully, and you learn everything you need to know. Not through deception, through being someone people trust enough to tell the truth. While you're meditating on acceptance, someone else just used these 14 rules to take what should have been yours. While you're focusing on your inner state, they're controlling external outcomes. While you're being a good Stoic, they're being an effective Machiavellian. And that's not a moral judgment. That's an observation of why Stoicism fails when it meets real competition. Your competitors read the prince. You're reading Meditations. Guess who's winning? Not the one with inner peace. The one with external power. And that's not cynical. That's observational. The world doesn't reward the most virtuous. It rewards the most strategic. This is where Stoicism breaks down completely, in the face of people who refuse to play by Stoic rules. But the most dangerous rules, those are 15 through 21, where Machiavelli gets truly ruthless, where nice people stop reading because it makes them uncomfortable, where the Stoic says this is too far, and the Machiavellian says this is what works, where Stoicism's beautiful philosophy meets the ugly reality of power dynamics and loses. Rule 15. Crush enemies completely. Half measures create future threats. The Stoic turns the other cheek. The Machiavellian ensures there's no second strike. This is where most people's morality programming breaks down. You can't just destroy your enemies. That's evil. But here's what Machiavelli understood. If you wound your enemy but don't finish them, you've created someone with nothing to lose and everything to avenge. If you humiliate but don't eliminate, you've made a permanent adversary. If you win but show mercy, you've guaranteed a future war. The Stoic believes in forgiveness, in redemption, in giving people second chances, and they spend their lives dealing with the same enemies over and over. The Machiavellian eliminates threats completely, not out of cruelty, out of strategy, because a dead enemy is safer than a wounded one. A destroyed competitor can't come back stronger, and complete victory prevents future conflict. You don't have to kill anyone. This isn't literal, but when someone becomes your enemy, when conflict is unavoidable, you don't do half measures. You don't leave them capacity to retaliate. You finish it completely. The Stoic shows mercy and regrets it later. The Machiavellian shows ruthlessness and sleeps peacefully. Rule 16. Use absence to increase value and respect. The Stoic is consistently present out of duty. The Machiavellian withdraws strategically to create hunger. We touched on this with Rule 6, but it goes deeper. It's not just about being scarce. It's about knowing when to disappear completely, when to withdraw your attention, your presence, your energy, because people value what they might lose more than what they have. When you're always there, always supportive, always available, you become furniture, expected, taken for granted. But when you withdraw, when you're suddenly unavailable, when they can't reach you, panic. They suddenly remember your value, suddenly want to reconnect, suddenly appreciate what they had. The Stoic maintains consistent presence out of virtue. The Machiavellian uses strategic absence to create value. One is dependable, one is powerful, and dependability without scarcity is just predictability. Rule 17. Keep others in suspense. Unpredictability equals power. The Stoic is consistent and therefore readable. The Machiavellian is unpredictable and therefore feared. When people can predict your responses, you have no leverage. They know what you'll do, what you'll accept, what you'll tolerate, what you'll fight for, and that knowledge nullifies your power, because they can plan around you, work around you, use you. But when you're unpredictable, when they never quite know how you'll respond, when you're generous sometimes and ruthless others, when you're collaborative in one situation and cutthroat in the next, You keep them off balance. They can't plan around you, can't predict you, can't use you, because they never know which version of you they're getting. The Stoic values consistency. The Machiavellian weaponizes inconsistency. One is trustworthy, one is powerful, and trustworthy people get used. Powerful people get respected. Rule 18. Never outshine the master until you're ready to replace them. The Stoic is humble by conviction. The Machiavellian is humble by strategy. This is about timing. The Stoic suppresses ambition because it's virtuous to be humble. The Machiavellian suppresses visibility because it's dangerous to threaten those above you before you're ready to take their place. One is genuine humility. One is strategic camouflage. When you outshine your boss, your mentor, your superior, one of two things happens. They promote you or they eliminate you. And most of the time, it's the latter. Because insecure people with power don't reward those who make them look bad. They destroy them. The Stoic doesn't see this coming because they were just being authentic. The Machiavellian sees it coming because they understand power dynamics. You don't hide your light because you're modest. You hide it until you're positioned to use it without someone crushing you. You don't perform humility, you perform deference, until you're ready to strike. Then you outshine them completely and take what's yours. Rule 19. Know who you're dealing with. Never trust blindly. The Stoic assumes good faith. The Machiavellian verifies everything. Trust is beautiful. Trust is necessary for connection. Trust is also dangerous when given to the wrong people. The Stoic trusts until given reason not to. The Machiavellian investigates before trusting at all. One gets betrayed and learns. One rarely gets betrayed at all. This isn't paranoia. This is due diligence. Before you partner with someone, trust someone, invest in someone, you verify, you check their history, their reputation, their incentives. You understand who they actually are, not who they claim to be, because people lie. Everyone lies. And the cost of trusting the wrong person is catastrophic. The Stoic has integrity and assumes others do too. The Machiavellian has integrity and assumes others might not. One gets used, one stays safe. And safety isn't cowardice, it's intelligence. Rule 20. Never commit to anyone fully. The Stoic gives themselves completely to their chosen causes. The Machiavellian maintains strategic options. Total commitment is romantic. It's passionate. It's also a trap. Because when you're fully committed to a person, an organization, a cause, you lose leverage. They know you won't leave, won't walk away, won't choose another option. And that knowledge removes all incentive for them to treat you well. But when you maintain options, when they know you could leave, when your commitment is conditional on how you're treated, suddenly they have to earn your loyalty, have to keep you satisfied, have to treat you well because you might actually leave. The Stoic commits fully and gets taken for granted. The Machiavellian never fully commits and gets treated like royalty. One is loyal, one is powerful, and loyalty without leverage is just servitude. Rule 21. Play the perfect mirror. Reflect what they want to see. The Stoic is authentically themselves. The Machiavellian is strategically adaptive. This is Machiavelli's final lesson, the ultimate principle. You don't have a fixed personality. You have a strategic range. With some people, you're serious. With others, playful. With some, vulnerable. With others, armored. With some, you reflect their values. With others, you challenge them. The Stoic believes in being consistent, in having a core self they never betray. The Machiavellian believes in reading the room and becoming what the room needs, not because they're fake, because they're sophisticated, because they understand that the person who can be all things to all people has the most power. You're not betraying yourself. You're deploying different aspects of yourself strategically. The part that needs to come out with this person, the part that serves you with that person, all authentic, all real, just strategically selected based on the situation. These are Machiavelli's 21 rules, the principles that still work 500 years later, not because human nature changed, but because it hasn't. We're still driven by self-interest, still influenced by perception, still respect power more than virtue, still respond to strategy more than morality. And Stoicism, it still fails in the real world for the same reasons it always has. And here's what I need you to understand about these rules. They're not evil, they're not immoral, they're just honest. They describe how power actually works, not how we wish it worked. They acknowledge that humans are strategic creatures, that we're all playing games whether we admit it or not, and that the person who plays consciously beats the person who plays unconsciously every single time. The Stoic pretends the game doesn't exist. They focus on their virtue, their character, their inner state, and they tell themselves that external power doesn't matter, that influence is vanity, that control is an illusion. And maybe that's true philosophically, but practically, in the real world where resources are allocated, where opportunities are competitive, where some people get chosen and others don't, external power matters immensely. And this is precisely why Stoicism fails when it matters most. You can have perfect Stoic virtue and die unknown, or you can have Machiavellian strategy and build something that lasts. One feels better philosophically, one works better practically, and the question you have to answer is which one matters more to you, the feeling of being virtuous or the reality of being effective. Because here's what breaks most people. They want both. They want to be virtuous and powerful, to be good and effective, to have inner peace and external control. And they think they can get there through Stoicism alone, but they can't. Because Stoicism teaches you to surrender external control, to accept what you can't change, to focus only on your internal state. This is the fundamental failure point. And that's fine if you've already won. If you already have power, resources, influence, then Stoicism is beautiful. It keeps you grounded, humble, sane. But if you don't have power yet, if you're still fighting for it, then Stoicism is a trap that keeps you exactly where you are while telling you that where you are is fine actually, because external things don't matter. But they do matter. Your income matters, your influence matters, your ability to shape outcomes matters, your reputation matters, your network matters. All the external things Stoicism tells you to be indifferent to, they matter enormously. And the person who accepts that, who pursues them strategically, who uses Machiavellian principles to gain them, they end up with both inner peace and external power. Because power, real power, brings a deeper peace than acceptance ever could. And the choice you have to make now is simple. Do you want to be the Stoic or the Machiavellian? Because you can't be both philosophically. They're fundamentally opposed approaches to life. The Stoic path, you continue practicing acceptance. You focus on your inner state. You work on being unaffected by outcomes. You cultivate virtue for its own sake. And 5 years from now, you're at peace. You're wise, you're calm, and you have no more power than you have now. You're still overlooked, still underestimated, still watching less strategic people win, but you're very zen about it. The Machiavellian path. You start applying these 21 rules. You control perception. You appear virtuous while acting strategically. You make yourself indispensable. You guard your reputation. You use strategic absence. You crush enemies completely. And 5 years from now, you have what the Stoic has. Inner peace, because you're not at war with your nature, plus what they don't have. Power, influence, control, the ability to shape outcomes instead of just accepting them. Picture this. 5 years. The Stoic is still journaling about acceptance, still practicing negative visualization, still reminding themselves that external things don't matter. And they believe it. They're genuinely at peace with having no power, with being overlooked, with accepting whatever happens. The Machiavellian 5 years from now? They're not journaling about acceptance. They're signing deals. They're not practicing negative visualization. They're determining what gets visualized. They're not reminding themselves that external things don't matter. They're controlling external things. And here's the part that breaks most people's brains. The Machiavellian is also at peace, also calm, also unaffected by chaos. Because they integrated both philosophies, they're Stoic internally and Machiavellian externally. They have inner peace and external power. They're calm and dangerous, wise and effective, because that's the secret nobody tells you. You don't have to choose between wisdom and power, between peace and control, between being a good person and being an effective person. You can have both. You just can't get there through Stoicism alone. You need Machiavelli too. The Stoic cultivates acceptance because they think it leads to peace. The Machiavellian cultivates control because they know it leads to power. And power, real power, actual influence over your circumstances, that brings deeper peace than acceptance ever could. Because you're not at peace with powerlessness. You're at peace because you have power and choose not to abuse it. Stoicism is for monks. Machiavelli is for kings. And kings can afford to be stoic because they already have power. But if you don't have power yet, if you're still fighting for it, if you're still trying to build something, then Stoicism is a trap. A beautiful, wise, calming trap that keeps you exactly where you are. You can stay the Stoic who's wise about having no power, who's at peace with being overlooked, who accepts that others make the decisions and you just respond to them with equanimity. You can keep that philosophy. It's safe, it's comfortable, it's approved. Everyone will think you're wise, mature, evolved. Or you can become the Machiavellian who has both wisdom and control, who understands that acceptance is a tool, not a philosophy, who knows when to be stoic and when to be strategic, who can be both monk and emperor depending on what the situation requires. You can integrate both philosophies and become more powerful than either one alone. But you can't be both philosophically. You have to choose. Is your foundation acceptance or control? Is your goal inner peace or external power? Do you want to be wise about powerlessness or strategic about gaining influence? Because while you're deciding, someone else already chose. They read these 21 rules. They practice Stoicism in public and Machiavellianism in private. They appear virtuous while acting strategically. They're calm internally while being ruthless externally. And they're taking everything you're too stoic to fight for. The powerful people you admire, the ones with influence, with resources, with the ability to shape outcomes. They didn't get there through acceptance. They got there through these 21 rules, through strategy, through understanding that the game isn't about being the most virtuous, it's about being the most effective. And effectiveness, real effectiveness, requires you to be comfortable with your Machiavellian side, with controlling perception, with being strategically generous, with crushing threats completely, with using people's self-interest, with playing roles, with deploying different versions of yourself based on what the situation demands. The Stoic says, be yourself. The Machiavellian says, be what the situation needs. The Stoic says, accept what you can't control. The Machiavellian says, control what others think is uncontrollable. The Stoic says, focus on your inner state. The Machiavellian says, focus on external outcomes. And in a world where resources are finite, where opportunities are competitive, where power is a zero-sum game, which philosophy do you think delivers results? The one that teaches acceptance, or the one that teaches control? You know the answer. You've always known the answer. The only question is whether you're willing to admit it, whether you're willing to stop performing Stoicism and start practicing Machiavelli, whether you're ready to trade wisdom about powerlessness for strategy about gaining power. If you've made it through all 21 rules, you're not the person who needs Stoicism to feel okay about having no power. You're the person who wants both, who wants inner peace and external control, who wants to be wise and effective, who wants to be the monk and the emperor. And you've seen exactly why Stoicism fails to deliver that. Why acceptance without strategy leaves you powerless. So tell me in the comments, which philosophy do you choose? Are you staying stoic, accepting, peaceful, powerless, or are you becoming Machiavellian, strategic, effective, powerful? If these 21 rules showed you why Stoicism fails in the real world, if they gave you permission to stop accepting and start controlling, write it down, declare it, say it plainly. I choose strategy over acceptance. I choose power over resignation. I choose Machiavelli over Marcus Aurelius. Let's see who here is ready to stop meditating on what they can't change and start changing what others think is unchangeable. And don't stop here. The next video is where we go deeper into specific Machiavellian tactics, where we learn how to actually appear virtuous while being ruthless, how to crush enemies without anyone knowing you did it, how to control situations so completely that people thank you for manipulating them, the advanced applications that separate the people who understand these rules from the people who master them, where we explore exactly why Stoicism fails even harder at advanced levels. Watch it.